Hey, real quick, who here already knows how to juggle? Anybody? Okay. So what we're going to be doing today, I'm going to show you what they call a 3-ball cascade. Okay? It looks like this. This is the most basic of the juggling patterns. And from this one, you do a bunch of fun different tricks. Okay? Now, a couple things, depending on what you're using. Okay? If you're using, let's say, like a bean bag, those are really nice because if they fall, they don't roll away. If you happen to be using like a tennis ball or something round, they are going to bounce. So sometimes you find you're dropping a lot, which you will. It's juggling. It's the first trick every juggler learned. It's a trick they all do at every point in time. So sometimes good to practice over a bed. If you drop it, you don't have to spend a whole lot of time picking them up, but they don't roll away from you. So I recommend if you have the opportunity to practice over a bed or a couch, works really well. Now, the first thing we're going to work on is the basic throw. What you're doing is you're doing an underhand toss, like this. You toss it up and let it fall in your other hand. You want to toss it so it's high enough that's right above your eyebrow. Good. Toss it up. Kind of like you're rocking a baby. There you go. If I turn to the side, like this. You want to be careful of tossing the hands this way. It'll be hard to control. You think side to side. Now, keep in mind, gravity is on your side. The ball is going to fall. Never reach up for it. Let it drop into your hand. It'll give you more time to work with. You'll also be more relaxed. There you go. And think underhand. Under. Under. Good. The higher you toss it, the more time you'll have to catch it. So again, when you toss, and a little bit closer, the toss, you're going under this way. So it's an inward motion. And you toss it up, so it falls in your other hand. Good. If you're tossing it over, like this, that's a different pattern called a shower. We're not doing that one just yet. All right, now if you feel comfortable, get 2, 1 in each hand. Now what you do on this one, you're going to toss one up. When it gets to the highest point, that's when you toss the other. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and you let it fall in your hand. So when you toss it, when it gets to the highest part, that's when you're going to toss the other one. So 1, 2, 1, 2. This we're going to spend a little bit extra time at the beginning to get used to it. Good. And always think of tossing it above your eyebrows, and you look up to follow the balls with your eyes, or bean bags, whatever you're using. Now, if you are using tennis balls, I tend to find those to be rather light and they bounce a lot. What I've done with mine is if you slice them open, you put some sand in there. I put pennies in mine so they're a little bit heavier. Then you put something in there to weight them down, and then super glue it so that way they don't bounce around as much. Good. And the higher you toss, the more time you'll have to catch. There you go. And you want to let it fall in your hands. No need to reach for it. It's going to fall no matter what you do. There you go. Very good. Now I'm going to get off the camera for a moment. I want to see what you guys are doing. Good. And take your time, no rush. And try not to catch with your face. Never a good idea. That's a different trick for later on. Now, keep in mind, if you're not used to this, it does take practice. It may take you a week, it may take you 2 weeks. It took me about a month to get used to doing this pattern. So it takes time like anything else. The more you spend on it, the better you get. So again, 1, 2. Now, it is recommended you toss with your weak hand first, okay? Because the weaker hand tends to overcompensate and throw it really hard. So if you throw it that one first, you get a little bit better control. You see how I'm throwing under like this? Then as it gets to the top, I toss the other one. And think underhand, under. And like I said, you spend most of your time here. The higher you toss, the more time you have to react. Good. For those of you just logging in, when you first practice, you're going to drop a ton. The more that you practice, the less dropping that happens. It still does. So usually if you practice like over a bed or a couch, you don't have to spend most of your time chasing the balls, especially using something around. There you go. Nice, Matt. All right, now, if you have a third one, this is how you want to hold on to two in one hand. Use your pinky and your ring finger. Middle finger can help out also. And then the other one's being held like this or that, whatever you're comfortable with. So it's nice if they're big enough, you can hold them two in one hand. Okay, so again, pinky and ring finger, maybe the middle finger, that's whatever you're comfortable with, holds like that. Now what you do is keep a hold of one and just still practice tossing the other two. Just get used to having an extra one in the hand, that's all. And think underhand. Good. And again, I recommend toss above your head, gives you more time to work. As you improve, you can kind of shorten the pattern. There you go. And the biggest thing is, do not get disappointed. You're going to drop a lot. If you see anyone juggle with incredible skill, they spent a ton of time dropping and chasing their props, guys. There you go. Okay, now, if you're feeling comfortable, you don't have to do it yet. You can spend more time on two. All it is when I toss one up, when it gets to the top part, then I toss. It's just non-stop tossing one after the other. So what we did with two, 1, 2, that's all three is. It's just non-stop. Okay, and again, you think like you're rocking a baby. This is the motion here. Be careful of tossing forward like this. It's hard to control. So if you feel comfortable, you want to try that. Now at first, it may feel better just to toss the 3 and catch. They call that a flash, where you're just used to letting go of all 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You see how my eyes look up so I can see what the balls are. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So at the beginning, you may spend a lot of time doing that. And then you may spend time where you toss it one extra time and then drop. So the more that you do this, easier it's going to get. Okay, so take a moment, do what you're comfortable with. I'm going to get off screen for you so I see what you guys look like. Again, if you have to, stay with 1. 1. Then when you feel comfortable, 2. 2. And then it takes a little bit, but then you can get to 3. And again, the higher the pattern, the more time that you have. Once you improve, then you can make it a little bit smaller, but it takes a little bit of time to get to that. So let's see what you got. Good. Try to keep your hands level with your elbows. So you don't want to pick your arms up. Keep your elbows where they are. Make it all the forearms that move, guys. It'll give you more time to catch. There we go. Nice, Lindsay. And again, think higher. Okay, so I recommend again, my weak hand to my left, toss with your weak hand first, and if you drop, pick it up that way. Because you find if you do your strong side and then the weak side either overcompensates or doesn't toss high enough. And do not be afraid to drop the balls. It's okay. Good. And remember, as soon as the ball gets to the very top, that's when you're tossing the other one. There you go. Good. And it takes time, guys, to get good at this, like anything else. Keep your elbows tucked in and let your arms do all the motion here. So you don't want to pick your arms up. Keep it close. Good. something you do too, not now, but when you practice at home, if you find that the pattern is getting away from you, practice close to a wall. So that way, the balls cannot go anywhere else but up. So that's good to stop yourself from doing like one of these where you're extended if you practice next to a wall. Now, the question is, if you have two different size objects, do you want the smaller one, the weaker hand? It doesn't matter because you're going to be swapping sides anyway. It does make it harder if they're extremely different, okay? Especially when you're learning the pattern for the first time. You try to find similar size objects. So that's all you got? That's all you got. Good. All right, now let's get a little bit of a break from that. And let's do this. All we're going to do, you do two in one hand. Okay, now you're going to draw a small little circle with it, like this. Okay, so we'll do the same toss, but just I have two in one hand versus one. This will help with your hand speed and being comfortable with two in the air. There you go. So just do one hand for a little bit, and then you can switch. And again, keep your eyes up. Try to get it above your head, like eyebrow height spine, or a little bit higher. See what you guys got. Too high, Will. Just above your eyebrow, sir. Yeah, you don't want to bounce them off the ceiling. There you go, guys. Good, good, good. Now, if you find that you're dropping them often, you're getting frustrated, just go to a different pattern, get your mind off it, and then come back to what you were doing before. Now, if you find a hard time catching, most of the time it's because someone you're reaching for it, you're not letting it fall into your hand. And that's understandable. It's a panic thing. You're used to when something falls, you try to catch it. This is the one time you let it fall into your hand, guys. Good. Now, if you're comfortable with the two in one hand, what you would do is, with one, you do the two, toss one a little bit higher, and then switch to the other side. Okay, so if you haven't tossed yet, on the other hand, with two, do that for a little bit. But if you feel comfortable, then toss one a little bit higher, then you switch sides. And however many switches you want to do before you switch. Okay, so I would do your other hand for a little bit if you haven't. But then after a while, you do two in one hand, toss one higher, and then just switch the hands. Okay, I'm going to walk off, kind of see what you guys are doing. And you are going to spend most of your time chasing, by the way, guys. Just so you know. Now, most people say they can only do two, and there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with two. That's why I was showing you kind of the one hand like that. Good. Now, if you're feeling comfortable with two in one hand, what you can do also is, instead of tossing a circle, you toss straight up and down. It's called columns. Straight up, straight down. So the hand moves side to side. Get a little bit closer. Okay, this one's real good for hand speed, side to side motion. So again, as one goes up, one's in your hand. As it drops, you toss the other one. So when the ball gets to the top, and these are side by side. Try one hand for a little bit, and try the other hand. And I'm trying to show you guys different methods of juggling. That way, you pick which one you like to work on. There you go. Now, if you are juggling while you're sitting on the floor, keep in mind you won't have much room for your arms to drop down, so be careful of that. Maybe kneeling might be a little better, but you have to have room for your hands to make that circle. Sometimes sitting puts you a little too close to the ground for All right, now let's go back to the cascade for a moment. That was the one we started with. Now, if you go back to 2, counting does help. 1, 2. So when it gets to the top, that's when I toss the other one. 1, 2. You have the third ball. 1, 2, 3. The thing to remember is, at any point in time, you only have one ball in the air. You're holding on to the other 2. So 1, and that. Good. So you go back to 2, think underhand. Okay, so you're going this way. There you go, guys. And if today does not go well for you, that's okay. That's what juggling is. It takes a lot of practice, guys. And every now and then, you're still going to drop it. That's just part of the fun. It's the one trick all jugglers can do. It's the first trick they learn, and it's a trick they always can do. Good. Now, if you are able to do the 2 in one hand, the calls, 1 up, 1 down, well, then the other hand can get involved. Okay, so we'll get a little bit closer. So this is going up and down. You can kind of just follow it. You can also pretend you're doing like a yo-yo type of idea. Follow it. So even though you're doing just 2 in one hand, you can do other stuff with the other hand. Have some fun with that. Okay, so there's a lot of different things you can do with 2 in one hand, and the other one's just kind of moving around. Good. So if you want to try that, go right ahead. And again, think right above your eyebrows, guys. There you go. For those of you just logging in, my suggestion is when you first learn, you juggle over like a bed. That's what I used to do, or a couch. But that way, if you drop it, you pick right back up. The bouncier the ball, the more you're going to have to try to find it. Good. There you go, guys. And if you don't see me looking directly at you, I'm looking at the screen behind to see what you guys are doing. There you go. Now, guys, I didn't really have a set time in mind for the juggling lesson. At least a half hour at the minimum. It might go a little beyond that. But if you need to log out for whatever reason, that's perfectly okay. As long as you get something from this you can hold on to, it's going to practice. And kind of like karate, you're always welcome to ask me questions on this. Just not an actual karate class. There you go. Good. Now, once you get used to that pattern, you guys can take a moment. If you take a little bit of break, gives the mind a break. You know, anytime you're doing something for a long period of time and it's just not going well, take a moment, do something different, come back. So once you get down this pattern, you can tighten the pattern up. You can extend the pattern. But something you do too is what they call claw. So instead of catching palm up, I catch palm down. So it looks something like this. So you can see my hand is palm down and I'm throwing them up. You can do one hand and the other, and then eventually you can do 2 at the same time. So once you feel comfortable with this basic pattern, the cascade, then you can kind of play with the hand a little bit and do what they call a claw. There you go. And then eventually you just get 2. So just guys something to look forward to. So the idea is, once you have this, try catching just one time with the palm down. If you're doing that with 2 only to start, you would toss 1, 2. That's the idea. So that's a fun little variation to do once you feel good in the cascade. Just keep in mind, if you are using a bouncing ball, this is going to happen. It's going to fly around. So get ready to chase it. So a couple more moments of the cascade, and then I'll show you what they call a shower. Good. And again, it's always underhand. The circle goes in. You toss it, so it goes all the way up the opposite shoulder. When it gets there, that's when you would toss the other one. If you have 3, 1, 2, 3. Good. All right, and relax. Okay, so guys, you can go back to 1 right for now. So on this one's called the shower. A shower you might be familiar with. That's the one that goes in a circle this way. So if I actually grab all 3, that's the one that would look like this. This is the one most common if you saw in cartoons, they tend to be doing. So on this one, you're going to throw outward circle. You throw it over, catch. Then put it in the other hand and then do it again. At the beginning, you can clap to pass it to the other hand for now. That makes it the easiest. Good. And again, still want to be above your eyebrows. Follow the ball with your eyes, especially on top. There you go. Good. All right, now you're feeling good with that. So now you're going to do 2. Now, when you throw one up, as it gets to the top, that you clap. Get the ball in the other hand. And then eventually, you'll be comfortable enough just to throw it. Okay, so when one is up, you clap the other one in the other hand. And then eventually you'll be comfortable enough just to throw it without watching. There you go. Above your head. Once you improve, then you can shorten the pattern. Good. That's it, Calvin. Good. And the more that you do it, the more consistent you'll get with your pattern. There you go. Nice, guys. And when it comes to this one, I would work on one direction only for a little bit until you're comfortable with it. Then you can decide to go the other way, but I wouldn't do that at the very start. Good. And remember, never reach for them. Keep your hands about elbow height. Let it fall into your hands. Taylor, it's okay. It happens. It's all right. Just follow the ball with your eyes. All right, now, if you're feeling good, okay, this is where holding it like this is going to be important. Again, ring finger and pinky, hold the bottom one, top fingers hold here. To help get it started, you're going to throw one up, then the other one. You have to throw 2. So 1, 2, and then you have your shower, your 3-ball shower. So again, at the beginning, throw 1, 2, and then stop. Make it more comfortable. Get used to throwing the 3. And then eventually, you can do all 3 of them. Okay, so again, at the beginning, 1, 2, just get used to throwing 2 out of your hand. It's not a skill you might be used to, but holding like this helps a lot. 1, 2. Good. One of the things you'll find at the beginning, when you throw this one and it's out of there, the other one transfers. So that one is going to be a little bit of practice to go from here to here. And that you'll get over time, guys. There you go. Good. And again. This tends to be the one that people do the most common because it's easier to do with 2 this way. I'm going to be off camera so we can see what you guys are doing. All right, now, kind of like if you ever play like basketball, you know, at the beginning, you're trying to get the ball in the hoop and you have to think a lot. And the more you practice, you just somehow eventually naturally can get the ball to where it needs to go. Juggling's the same way. So when you guys are doing this at the beginning, you don't know how hard to throw the ball, you overshoot yourself. Or you try to be careful and you undershoot. So after a while, you aim so it goes up to your other hand. Okay, it takes a little bit, but after a while, you get used to it. And eventually the goal is to be able to do the pattern without having to look up, looking straight. That we can talk to someone, hold a conversation, but at the beginning, you follow the ball with your eyes. Okay, so again, takes a little bit, like anything else. And you'll just know how far to throw it through practice. Good. All right, now let's get a break from that for a little bit. Now, you can go back to, now again, if you're still working on this one, that cascade, that is okay. This is probably the best one to do overall. It'll give you the most different things you can play with, okay? Once you feel good with that, something to think about is you can actually do the cascade. Let me grab 3 different balls so you can see the difference. You can actually do the cascade and then throw one over the top. So eventually, you can mix and match, going from dropping the balls to a pattern where you have one going over the top, or one always gets thrown over the top. But this is why you can practice 2 patterns and just have fun with that. But the initial one, I'd recommend highly the cascade, which is you throw the ball up this way, it drops in your hands. So it's kind of like you're making a figure 8 with your pattern on that one. Good. Don't mind me, I just go find the other ball that rolled away. Apparently I did not take my own advice in not using rounded balls. There you go. And the big thing is, don't get discouraged. The more time you spend doing this, the more comfortable you get, the longer you can hold the pattern for. If you find you get discouraged and you're dropping very often, go to a different routine. Actually, if you want something fun, if you have a ball, what you can do is you try balancing it on your nose. So it makes you not think about the pattern part. It's a completely different skill. And you see how long you hold it there for, then after a couple moments of that, then you go back to working the pattern. So again, doing something completely different, get your mind off what you're trying to do, and then when you come back with a fresh mind. There you go. Good. But this is called the 3-ball cascade. This one here is a shower. This is a circle. Then you have columns. One up, one down. And there's a lot of other things you can do with that, guys. Good. Now, once you're comfortable with doing things like this, then you try to figure out, okay, what else can I add in there? So for example, you know, an easy trick to add at the beginning, if you're comfortable, is under the leg. But you gotta make sure the pattern's high enough for under the leg. Then once you do one under the leg, you do others. Then eventually the goal would be one, then the other, to there. So that's why getting the 3-ball cascade is a real good pattern to get down. Like I said, it took me about a month. Most people, it takes like a week or 2. Took me a little extra, a lot of extra practice. Good. All right, now there was a good question. When you're doing a 3-ball cascade, do you start with the 2 in your strong hand or weak hand? Whatever you're comfortable with. I'll tell you truthfully, however you practice, that's your most comfortable. I'm comfortable with 2 in my strong hand because I'm used to doing the pattern. If I had practiced lefty, then I would hold 2 in my left hand. So whichever hand's gonna throw first is the one that holds 2 when it comes to the 3-ball cascade. That was a good question, by the way. And yes, it looks like it is being recorded. Good. Nice. And like I mentioned, you know, once comfortable, you can add in other things, like going over with one hand, under with another. So you have a combination of a cascade and a shower. You have both. So instead of your cascade going underhand or in like this, you have the cascade going outwards. But that's not one you probably want to work on yet because that's a little more challenging because you got to be able to drop it in the middle of the pattern versus going out on that. There you go, guys. There's Lindsay. Yeah. Like I said, they call it a flash, where you just try to get all three balls out of your hand, just get used to letting go of all three. And then eventually you try to do it a couple more times, and the more often you do it, it'll take longer to drop each time, guys. Good. Okay, it's a fun skill to have as far as helping your karate. It works your hand-eye coordination, works in your hand speed. You're getting both sides of the arms being used, left and right side, so it'll help strengthen your left side. Plus, it's a pretty neat trick, impresses people. Good, and it's something to do when you want to kind of get your mind thinking about something else. You just see if you can keep the three balls up in the air as long as possible, defying gravity as much as you can. All right, so now we're not covering this today, but a moment ago, or earlier, I was showing you how to do two in one hand. And if you can do two in one hand on both sides, that's how you do four. Anytime you do even numbers, each hand takes half. So a cascade, the patterns intersect, odd numbers, they share. But when it comes to even, one hand takes half, other hand takes half. So for example, here, I don't know if you can tell, but one hand has two, and the other hand's doing the other two. And that's pretty much how you do four. So if you can do two in one hand and two in the other, you can do four. Honestly, it just takes a little bit to get used to doing this and not having the balls hit at the same time. So that's how you do four. Now, these are small objects. Once you can do this, you can juggle similar objects that don't need a spin. Eventually, when you learn clubs, those require spin. That's something completely different. And yes, I can do bowling pins for those that asked. No chainsaws, torches, knives, rings, pins. So various stuff. Yep. It's understanding the pattern and how to get the object to move. Once you can do that, you can juggle a bunch of different things. And no, don't go juggling knives. Okay, Lily? All right, just making sure. But anyway, guys, that's it, right? And like I said, once you have this pattern down, there's a bunch of other stuff, like you can bounce it off one hand if you wanted to. You can bounce it off your forearm if you wanted to. If you're adventurous, off your elbow. You can bounce it off your knees. If you had lacrosse balls that bounce, this environment's not good for something that bounces. Then you can bounce them off the ground, which is a lot of fun. But for now, if you learn this pattern, the three-ball cascade, you have a lot of fun stuff you can play with, guys. Good. Anyone of us, any more questions? You can type them up, or if you want to raise your hand, I can unmute you if you have to ask something. No? All right. So anyway, guys, there's your juggling. Taylor, are you doing contact juggling? That's a different thing. That's a completely different day, okay? My wife does that more than I do. For those who don't know, contact juggling is when you roll the ball around the body. Oh, hold on, someone has a question. Let me unmute you, Addie. All right, Addie, what's your question?
What makes juggling so hard?
Well, think about it. Your entire life, you have been trained not to drop anything, right? Don't throw things. Don't drop anything. Try to catch it. You're allowing this to actually drop. And you've been told not to throw a bunch of things, right? Now you're throwing a bunch of things. Also, if you don't use your non-dominant often, it takes a little bit to get used to on that part, okay? But again, like anything else, any skill, the more time you spend on it, the better you're gonna get. And like I said, most people think about a week or two. It took me a little bit longer, as it usually does when it comes to something like this. But eventually, I just stick with it, and I'm able to do it. Okay, good question, Addie. All right, Cora, what's your question?
Which one's the cascade and which one's the shower?
The shower is the circle, Okay, so that's the one where all the balls are going the exact same direction. I was trying to widen the pattern to make it a little more obvious. Hold on. Okay, the cascade is the one that kind of looks like a figure 8, where the ball is going like this way the entire time. So shower, circle, cascade is like that, kind of like a figure 8. Okay, good question. Hold on one moment. Taylor, what's your question?
I think I tried asking this earlier, but I don't know if I worded it the right way. How do you get the ball to go in just like a straight line and not have it go in other directions?
Are you talking about when you're doing the shower?
Yeah,
And
no,
doing this?
just like getting it to go in a straight line and not go off to the side.
Oh, so if I understand, it's just really practice. But a lot of times when people throw, they throw their hands like this, or the hands are overshot. So if you get close to a wall, you have no option but to go side to side on that one. And it depends how comfortable you are throwing them. So practice will give you more comfort. With more comfort, you'll be able to kind of push the limits a little bit more with that. So it's just something that just takes time. I don't know if you ever just sat there, you just throw a ball side to side. Yeah.
Of course, I can do it right now.
Oh, of course you can, because you're not thinking about anything else. All right, hold on one moment. All right, Jameson, what's your question, sir?
I was watching this video of juggling today, and I didn't really get how to do this. Like, how do you do like a 6-ball like shower? I think.
Well, Jameson, you can't just jump to 6. Now, I will tell you, doing 3 takes a bit. Doing 5 would take about a year of practice to get comfortable with 5 balls. Doing 6, give it a little bit, especially if you're doing a shower with 6. That's beyond my ability right now, and that would put you at a higher degree of skill. So if someone doing that, that's an amazing skill because, one, you have to be able to hold 5 or so in one hand on that one. All right, so we won't cover that anytime soon, sir.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, guys? No? All right, so that ends our session for today. Okay, so again, cascade is the pattern I recommend you work on. Make sure to go above the eyebrows, right? Then once you're comfortable with that, there's different things you can play with. If you have any questions on anything, you can shoot me an email or Facebook message. All right, guys? All right, have a good day. And if you're here for the workout tomorrow at 5 o'clock, I'll see you then.